How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. A little nervous, but I'm good.
Okay, that's natural.
Yeah.
So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Sandra Molloy.
Hi, Sandra, and thank you for agreeing to be interviewed for the Realize and Accessible Montreal project.
Well, thank you for doing it because it's important.
So, you would like to talk a little bit about accessibility in
Rather
Montreal.
inaccessibility.
Okay, let's start there.
Doorways in new construction, like the sidewalks, and I understand that some of the government bodies will say that the buildings, they're too old, they're heritage, they were built, Montreal is an old city. Agreed. But if they can make the Great Wall of China accessible, if they can make Machu Picchu accessible, if they can make the Tower of London accessible,
I heard that.
Then why can't they make, buildings in Montreal accessible? In most cases, it's just a small ramp at the entrance.
Can you give some examples of places that you see as being easily made accessible, where it could just be done?
Just down Sherbrooke Street, just going down Sherbrooke Street, there's like a 2-inch step, but it's too much for my chair and for most chairs.
Right.
And God forbid you're in a manual, because if you're in a manual, forget it. The sidewalks, the tilt on the sidewalks, it's just, and even the incline from the street going up onto the curb where it's supposed to be accessible.
Right.
Sometimes the inclines are too high, and you don't have the physical strength to push yourself up with a manual chair. I was in a manual chair for 6 years. I just got my power chair. And that is a big issue.
I know what you're talking about. I have a spinal crush injury, and I don't use a chair. Most of the time I use a scooter sometime. But walking using a cane, it's scary. It's difficult to get up these inclines, and they're frightening because you fall.
Mm-hmm. But it's not only that, the corners are not maintained, because you get to a corner and there's a big huge pothole, or the curb has been broken away, so it's jagged. Yeah. So your wheel gets stuck, or because of the way your wheel hits it, you spin. It can be very, very dangerous, and it's very frustrating. The other thing that, for me, I think is the most important thing is that we need to educate the public. It's not just public officials, it's the general public, because they really they don't see us. You're in a chair and you're in line waiting for whatever, and people just walk right in front of you. They don't recognize you.
Or reach over you or around you.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Do you have that happen? I find when I use a scooter, I find that people will act like I'm not there. They'll reach for an item right over my head, and they won't say, "Excuse me."
Yes.
Or touch the chair, touch the scooter.
Well, when I was in my manual chair, people would actually, thinking that they were doing something good, but again, it's ill-informed, they would actually come up behind me and just start pushing me.
Yes.
Instead of asking permission, is it okay, or do you need help? Which I'm always grateful for. The other thing that I think is important is that we teach people how to approach someone with different levels of ability.
Right.
You don't go up to any service dog, whether it's a guide dog or a service dog. You don't touch them. You don't feed them. You don't touch them. You don't acknowledge them whatsoever.
Oh, do you have a service animal?
No, I don't. But
okay.
I have a lot of friends who have guide dogs as well as service dogs, and you don't. And as a sighted person, I see people touching them, feeding them, trying to get their attention. And when you do that, you take the animal's attention away from the person that they're working with.
How do you think education in these areas can best be done?
I'm not sure. I think as persons living with different levels of ability, I think it's our responsibility to politely inform people. You don't touch a blind person's cane. You don't grab their arm. You don't assume that just because someone's in a chair or someone's got a disability that, they don't have any brain. And I think that's a misconception, that anybody who's in a chair or anybody who has a disability, is not an individual, can't think for themselves.
I've run into that, definitely.
That's a big thing.
Now, I was wondering, with these situations you've talked about, people violating disabled people's boundaries, if you can give me an incident or two where it's happened directly to you.
Okay, well, for me, it's been, as you can see, I'm a large person. And at one time I was 700 pounds. I have lost 300 pounds. Which is, I mean, you think about it, that's 2 people. But I've had fat shaming. That's one big, like, it's not cool so much to tell, like, a colored joke. It's not cool to tell, a Jewish joke, or, like 3 priests and 2 priests, a rabbi and a nun, or whatever.
But fat phobia is alive and well.
Fat phobia is alive and well. And we're non-people. And there was one time, particularly with me, we had family at home, and we were, it was kind of like a special occasion because everybody was together. So I stopped at a donut shop, and I went up to the counter and I asked for 2 dozen donuts. And the girl behind the counter asked me, "Pour manger ici?" To eat here? Just, yeah, I'm going to sit down and eat 2 dozen donuts. Sure. It's those kind of things.
So how did you deal with her?
Not very politely. I told her that I was going to go sit down and eat the 2 dozen donuts and go back and vomit all over her, which wasn't very polite, but it got my point across.
Why should you be polite?
I got my point across. I could have, like, sworn at her, and I could have, like, but no, I got my point across. People parking their bikes or their scooters or even their cars, okay, in front of the sidewalk access. So you can't get off the sidewalk. You have to go around a block in order to get off the sidewalk. People parking their bikes and actually chaining their bikes to a gate, a wheelchair's access gate that you have to use to access a building or access a ramp. Okay, and they've just parked the bike and just locked it to the gate. And
so what do you do?
Well, you try to get a hold of someone in the store or the place where you're going, and see if they can make an announcement for someone to come move their bike. And in this case, they did, and the manager said, "Look, if someone's not back in 5 minutes, I'm cutting the lock."
Oh, good.
But even when he showed up, and I stayed there until he showed up.
Exhausting.
He was
exhausting. You're working really hard just to have access that able-bodied people have naturally and assume they have.
Yeah. And he was just, "Oh, it was just for 5 minutes." I'm going, no, more like 15. I've been waiting here. And like, it's not.
And then he's making excuses. It shouldn't be 5 seconds.
It's true in some ways for us as well, because it's a learning curve for all of us. Because I was at a large shopping mall, and there's a men's bathroom and there's a women's bathroom with like 15 stalls, but then there's a separate handicap stall, a handicap bathroom. It's a separate room. And I was waiting there for probably 6 or 7 minutes. I had to go, and I was waiting, and this person came out that was completely able-bodied, what I viewed as able-bodied, and I was getting like hot under the collar. And then I pulled back for a second, and I realized, well, wait a second, what if that person's transgender, doesn't feel safe using a men's or women's bathroom? What if they're germaphobes? What if they're agoraphobic?
Or what if, like me, they are not visibly disabled?
Exactly.
But I sometimes use the disability bathroom or stall because of my balance problems.
Exactly.
I can't, like, the narrow
you need
stalls.
the bars.
I need, like, if there's a grab bar, thank God.
Yeah.
Or if there's a little table where I can put my, like, if I'm carrying belongings, even my purse. My purse can make me lose my balance and, like, I fall on my face.
Right.
So yes, you're right. We all have to learn about each other's disabilities. So that's a tough one, because you can't tell when someone's coming out of a bathroom or if someone has the disability vignette on their car, but they're walking, that's another one, because you don't know if that person has a heart condition or asthma or COPD or liver disease. You don't,
someone
or
who has
amputated
MS
leg,
who's in
MS,
remission.
who's in remission, right? So is there any anything you'd like to say quickly to wrap things up, Sandra?
No, I just think that education, I think it starts like with the little ones, and being sensitive, and answering questions, and when the little child says, why is she in a wheelchair, you'd say to them, can I answer that question? And don't let the child be hushed, so that we can teach. We can use every moment as a teaching moment. I think that's important.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for what you're doing.
I appreciate your time.